My dear friends, it brings joy to my heart to sit here with you today. You could be anywhere, doing anything, yet here you are, choosing stillness over noise, wisdom over distraction, and truth over assumption. For that, I thank you. Many who walk into the temple for the first time, or who sit quietly with me under the Bodhi tree, often come with questions. Not always spoken aloud, but present in their eyes, in their silence. And so often, those questions arise from misunderstandings, myths passed from person to person, not out of malice, but out of unknowing. Today, I wish to speak with you, not lecture, not preach, but speak heart to heart about 5 common myths surrounding Buddhism. These are not small misconceptions. They are like clouds hiding the sun of understanding. Let us clear these clouds together, so the light may shine through. The first myth is that all Buddhists are trying to escape the world. People say, "Oh, you monks, you just want to avoid life. You shave your heads, wear robes, and run away to mountains or forests." But my dear one, that is not escape. That is engagement at its deepest level. Let me share with you the story of a layman named Vimalakirti. He lived not in a monastery, but among merchants and rulers. He owned wealth, yet remained unattached. He attended feasts, yet his heart remained undisturbed. He was a lotus in the mud, rooted in the world, but never stained by it. This is the essence of Buddhist practice. We do not run from suffering. We sit with it, breathe with it, and hold it gently. Escaping the world is not the goal. Understanding it is. Buddhism teaches us not to push life away, but to hold it with full awareness. A monk may renounce family and possessions, but only to understand impermanence more deeply, not to avoid discomfort. A layperson may remain in the world and practice with just as much clarity. One does not need to hide from life to awaken. We simply need to be fully present in it. The second myth is that Buddhists worship Buddha as a god. This one I hear often. People see the statues, the incense, the bowed heads, and they say, this is idol worship. But my dear ones, let me tell you a simple truth. We do not pray to Buddha to save us. We bow to what he represents within ourselves. Buddha was a man, a prince, a seeker, a human being who suffered as we all do. And yet he awoke. He found a way through his suffering, and out of compassion, he shared it. We bow not to his bones or his image, but to the path he walked and showed us. That path lies within each of us. Imagine you are lost in a deep, dark forest, and someone before you has left a trail of lights, marking a way out. Would you worship the lights? No, you would follow them with gratitude. This is the Buddha to us, not a deity to be worshipped, but a light to be followed. A young woman once came to the Buddha, heartbroken after the death of her only child. She asked the Buddha to bring him back to life. He told her to bring a mustard seed from any house that had never experienced death. She searched all day and found none. By evening, she returned, eyes filled with understanding. The Buddha had performed no miracle, only shown her the truth of life. That is his power, not divine, but deeply human. The third myth is that Buddhists are always peaceful and should never feel anger, sadness, or grief. Oh, how we love this myth, because it paints a picture of perfect serenity. But perfection is not the goal of our path. Presence is. A river may look calm on the surface and rage underneath. A monk may smile, yet carry sadness in his heart. The Buddha himself cried. He grieved when his cousin betrayed him, when his disciples fell ill, when the world clung to ignorance. Emotions are not our enemy, they are our teachers. What matters is how we relate to these emotions. Do we drown in them, or do we learn from them? Do we let anger make our decisions, or do we observe it like a bird flying through the sky of our awareness? There's a beautiful story about a monk who was beaten by bandits. He survived and was later asked if he hated them. He replied, "No. I only wished I could have helped them before they caused suffering." This is not the absence of feeling. It is the flowering of understanding. So if you feel sad, angry, or lost, do not punish yourself. Do not say, I am failing at Buddhism. No, you are being human. The practice is not to suppress but to see clearly. To breathe through the storm. To know it too shall pass. Now, the fourth myth, and this is a funny one, is that all Buddhists are vegetarians. Some assume that being Buddhist means never touching meat. And while compassion for all living beings is at the heart of the teachings, the Buddha himself did not forbid the eating of meat. He taught that what matters most is intention. If one receives alms mindfully, without craving, and the food offered contains meat, one may accept it without guilt. But if eating meat causes harm to your heart, your body, or another being, you must examine that. You must listen to your conscience. A great teacher once said, better to eat meat with kindness than to eat vegetables with arrogance. And that is true. A soft heart matters more than a strict rule. In modern times, many Buddhists choose vegetarianism to reduce harm. That is beautiful. But remember, the path is not about labels or food choices. It is about awareness. A meat eater with deep compassion may walk further than a vegetarian with pride. What matters is your inner garden, how well you tend to it. Finally, the fifth myth, and perhaps the most widespread, is that Buddhism is pessimistic because it talks about suffering so much. People say, why are you Buddhists always talking about dukkha? Dukkha, isn't that depressing? But let me ask you this. If a doctor tells you your illness and also gives you a cure, is she pessimistic? No, she's compassionate. Buddhism does not dwell on suffering. It recognizes it, names it, and then shows the way beyond it. That the first noble truth says suffering exists. The second says it has a cause. The third says it can end. And the fourth shows us how. That is not pessimism. That is hope rooted in reality. I once met a young man who said, I thought meditation would make all my problems disappear. I smiled and replied, no, it makes them visible so you can understand them. He sat with me for many days, facing old wounds. And one morning, he cried not out of sadness, but relief. I finally see clearly, he said, and I'm not afraid anymore. That is the power of Buddhism. It does not promise a fantasy world. It teaches you to walk through this one with grace. So my dear friends, we have walked through these 5 myths together. We've seen that Buddhism is not escape, but engagement. That the Buddha is not a god to be worshipped, but a guide to be followed. That emotions are not shameful, but sacred messengers. That food choices must be paired with intention. And that suffering is not our prison, but our starting point. Let me share one final story before we part for today. There was once an old monk who carried a small bell everywhere he went. When asked why, he said, every time I forget to be present, I ring this bell, not to punish myself, but to return. One day, a student asked, when will you stop needing the bell? The monk smiled, when every breath rings it within me. This is mindfulness. This is the essence of Buddhism. Not a religion of rules and restrictions, but a path of awakening, of deep seeing, and of gentle living. And so I invite you, dear soul, wherever you are, be it in the stillness of your room or the chaos of the world, to walk this path with us, to question what you hear, to seek your own truth, and to live each day with compassion and awareness. If this message touched your heart, if it planted even a small seed of curiosity or comfort, I humbly ask you to support this journey. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Buddha's Wisdom. Here, we walk together. Here, we sit with the questions. And here, we water the seeds of peace, truth, and understanding, until we meet again. May your days be mindful, your heart be light, and your spirit be ever free. Nam, O Buddhaya.